The Silly Goose Gang Podcast.
Okay, so we are now up and running episode 63 of the Silly Goose Gang Podcast, and we're delighted to be joined today all the way from Peru with Caroline Knight. So Caroline, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me here.
This is the first person who stays in Peru. We're breaking new ground again. It's pretty hilarious. But yeah, we're just talking. It's quite funny talking off camera there about how you'd not heard any Scottish accents for a while. I bet there must be somebody. I wonder if there's somebody in the jungle in Peru who's Scottish. I bet there is, because we get everywhere.
There probably is. There's a lot of like, when I say foreigners, I mean non-Peruvians working in the jungle, like researching the jungle, and a lot of them are kind of deep in the jungle in their research stations. So there may well be. Maybe there's a whole clan of Scottish people in the jungle.
If there will probably be someplace, an Irish pub. So go look there. And there'll be some Irish and Scottish arguing about who can drink more. That's what you'll find them. It's the Scottish accent's weird because some of them are okay. So we both live in Fife, but I'm originally from Kinross, which is slightly posher, and Ali's from the islands of the west of Scotland. So we're not. The Fife accent is usually quite dirty and quite hard to understand sometimes, but yeah, it's something. Luckily, we're not too bad.
Not too bad.
Yeah, it's kind of accent. Sorry,
you guys were when you did a post about like, oh, there's not going to be a podcast this week. You were talking about a dressing gown, and you used a word, and I was like, what? What's the word?
Was that the house coat?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a goonie.
like
it's a goonie.
A goonie.
Okay, goonie. And
as in the film. You know the film, The Goonies. The Goonies.
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it. Should I see
it? You've never seen The Goonies?
I don't so no.
Like Sloth and Chunk and the Shuffle Truffle?
No, I definitely haven't seen that.
Okay. But yeah, Scottish.
Anyway,
I'm just surprised that someone's not seen a movie that Chris has seen, because Chris has seen no movies at all, which is bizarre.
What shit to do. Yeah. So the word is goonie.
Okay, and then house coat. Where do they use that word in America?
Yes.
They also use it in Edinburgh, because my wife's from Edinburgh and she refers to it as a house coat.
Oh, I like that. It's very kind of like Victorian era.
What do you call it in England?
Dressing gown.
Okay. Fair enough.
So there you go. It's a goonie. We have some extremely bizarre words in Scotland that make no sense. People have, like, I've had to explain to people before, right, that there's certain things that we say and you just forget that they're not actually words. So people will say, like, if you're speaking to somebody who's English or anywhere really, and you will easily just say, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that," and people will go, "What? I don't know what you just said." And because we just say "shouldn't," and it's like, no, the word is "shouldn't." There is no word "shouldn't," and same as "couldn't," "didn't." They're not words. So I think we forget sometimes that people actually speak properly, and we're just some crazy assholes.
I love it. It's like the writer Irvin Welsh.
Yeah.
I don't know if he all of his books, but the books I've read of his, he writes like in the Scottish accent, like phonetically, and at first it's really difficult for a non-Scottish person, well, for me, and then afterwards it's like you get into it and it's like I've got the Scottish accent in my head when I'm reading his books.
It's a very honest way of speaking. So even if you write it, if you write the way that we speak, it comes across as like quite angry, quite violent, like a way. There's no grey area. It's this is what I mean, and this is how it reads if you speak that way. Do you know what I mean? It's quite it's quite a direct way of speaking. There's no, I mean, if I don't know, I can't really speak for anybody else, but there's no mess. If somebody in Scotland tells you to fuck off, they mean fuck off. They don't mean fuck off. No, it's no fuck off. It's a way. It's a strange thing that we have. But yeah, it's quite interesting. It's quite an interesting way of growing up, where everybody thinks you're angry all the time.
I don't know if you guys be like horrified at my cultural appropriation of Scottish culture, but I've always felt like this connection to Scotland, even though I don't knowingly have family from there. And I've got a thistle tattooed on my leg, and I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I know that in the future it will like become clear to me. So like I've got that connection, and it's like a real fascination. But yeah, I still don't know, but I don't regret the tattoo at all. It's very cool.
I know some people nowadays get upset by being culturally appropriated. But to me, if somebody thinks Scotland's cool and they want to get something Scottish tattooed on them and they're not Scottish, it's like, that's cool. Like, why would you get upset by that? That's, do you know what I mean?
It's in the last week on the interwebs, in the kind of networks I'm in, there's been a lot of discussion around cultural appropriation. So yeah. Yeah,
I'm not. I can't speak. You obviously, we can't speak for everybody, but to me, like, if you want to wear a kilt, like, I'd be like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Why would you be upset by that? It's somebody to me, it's somebody saying, I like your culture and I would like to wear this thing. I don't, that's just me.
I hear you, and I think kilts are so fucking cool. And I don't know why, but the school my primary school, kilts were part of our uniform, and that's just an English school. So yeah, kilts are great.
I actually don't know why they get, like, I remember being on a stag doing we went to stay in Ayia Napa, but we ended up in Ayia Napa, and we had kilts on it, and everybody was like, there was a lot of Russians in Ayia Napa for some reason, and they were all fascinated with their kilts. Absolutely fascinated. Yeah, they all thought it was amazing. It was like, I don't know why. This seems to be a thing around like tartan and kilts, but yeah, it was cool. I think it's, somebody likes it, it's cool. But I have to say, they're not the most comfortable thing in the world to wear.
No,
not particularly nice to wear. Yeah, like, the only good thing about having a kilt on is you know, if you're at a wedding or whatever you're wearing it for, you'll have a sporran, which means you can take alcohol everywhere, which is always.
Yeah, that's when you realise how smart women are to have handbags. Is when you've got a sporran sat in front of your kilt. You're like, there's a wee bag, and I can put everything I need into it.
Yeah,
and it's just right in front of you the whole time. It's perfect. I don't know why. Not that I'm advocating man bags, but I'd totally rock a sporran all day.
Yeah. Anything that you could put a half bottle of vodka in, it's got to be a good thing. So anyway, we've got wildly off topic. Wildly off where we thought it was going to go. So yeah, your story is pretty wild. It's pretty crazy how it all kind of came around about. So yeah, tell us a little bit why you ended up in the Peruvian jungle.
Yeah, okay. So it all started when my friend Charlie was organizing a retreat that did happen in the Peruvian jungle, and she invited me to teach yoga on the retreat. And I thought, okay, why not? Yeah, so 2-week retreat in Peru turned into me still being here. And basically, halfway through the retreat, Peru announced their national lockdown, and they were going to close the borders. So it was like, you have to go now. And we didn't make it out, so we're kind of stuck in Peru. And the rest of my friends on the retreat, they did want to go back to England. So it took them 3 weeks, but they eventually got back. And I decided to stay because I just had this feeling like I would rather be in Peru than go back to England. And also because I was, sorry, give me a second. Romeo has just got home from work. So, estoy haciendo un podcast. Do you wanna see him? Bang, bang.
Yeah.
This is so unplanned. This is like totally throwing me off.
That's cool. Fine. We like some random surprises. Like,
I love it. So bang, dile hola. ¿A quién? Es un podcast para Jungle Cacao Perú. Están en Escocia. Dile hola.
Lola.
Hola.
Dile.
Hola.
Do you guys
Hola.
No.
Mm,
No.
No.
Dile can speak a little bit of English? ¿Hablas un poco de inglés?
I love it. It would be very difficult to understand Scottish people for somebody who's not like at least from the UK.
Oh, actually, the other night I taught him to speak in a bit of a Scottish accent. I can't remember what I taught him, but he did a really good job.
Oh, yeah. It must have been something to do with swearing.
It was. I think the sentence had the word kilt in it.
Oh, okay.
He said he's going. So yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, there we go. There's a first. Sorry, well, I can't remember what you were saying now.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
Peru, and I was getting to the part where I was actually going to mention Romulo and how I just felt like I thought there's no point going back to England because I was working as a massage therapist. So like that was, you know, any kind of like you have to touch people as a massage therapist. So in the pandemic, I wouldn't have been able to continue working like that. And also I'd met Romulo and I was, you know, intrigued about him and I decided to stay. And it was a bit, you know, at the time I was like, am I crazy just staying? And, you know, this guy, I don't really know him. But I think if I thought it was just going to be some kind of fling, I wouldn't have like changed my whole life just to stay in Peru in the pandemic. So I did lockdown for 2.5 months in a hotel, which sounds like really nice, and I guess it was, compared to how I think other people have done the pandemic. Like I'm just imagining people like deep in the inner city that have to stay in like really small flats. But then after a while, it did become quite frustrating. So I did 2 months in that hotel, and then met up with Romulo, and then we decided to go to the jungle. And Romulo's family has a cacao farm, and that's when this whole cacao thing, cacao journey started for me.
That's super.
Yeah.
I'm really interested about that. So did you start I'm assuming you started the Instagram for that, or was that already ongoing from his family?
Oh no. So Jungle Cacao Peru was kind of like my idea. I said to Romulo, like, why don't we make cacao? Because okay, so the story about where his family comes in. His father, who was also called Romulo, he started this community of farmers in this part of the jungle 7 or 8 years ago. Mm-hmm. And all these people came from further afield. A lot of them came from this area called Brai, which is like one of the centers of cocaine production in Peru. So it's got a whole host of problems going on. And okay. So yeah, Romulo's father decided to like take a whole load of people away and kind of set up a new community where they would farm cacao instead.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, guys, give me a second.
Yeah. I love how we just segue straight from cacao to cocaine and back to cacao.
Yeah. Sí, están arreglando la cosa. El lavatorio. Gracias. Yeah, I know. It's going to be a random podcast.
Always are.
That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
Podcast you're doing. Okay, so yeah, he took a whole load of people away from that environment, and they started this community of. Then they started planting cacao, and then 3 years ago, Romulo's father died, and their cacao farm, nothing was really done with it because his mother is in the town near where I'm living now. And she's not really like well, she isn't a farmer, so the kind of cacao trees got overgrown with jungle, and so they were kind of really weakened because the jungle like blocks out all the sun. And then I said to Romeo, like, why don't we like clean the farm up and start making cacao? And so that's what we did.
Yeah, I just love it. I love the, I love how authentic it kind of feels. Like I don't know if it just, do you know what I mean? It's not like when you think of chocolate, you think of like a dairy milk, right? But I love the, like, you know what I mean? I love like the fact that it's like actually this is what chocolate actually is. It's not sugar. Like, do you know what I mean? I love how authentic it seems. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
So I do want to say a bit, if I can, about chocolate versus cacao. So yeah, most people in the world, their experience of cacao is in the form of a chocolate bar, and the chocolate that's used in that chocolate bar is like the cacao, which has been heavily processed and like deconstructed and then like reconstructed with sugar and like vegetable oil and whatever else. So it's like quite far removed from the actual cacao, and then the cacao we're making is literally the milled cacao beans, so it's like pure, and it still has its like sacred and medicinal qualities, and the taste is amazing as well.
I feel like, do you sell this online?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, we have a website. You
feel like
totally.
I need to buy some. I feel like I need to buy some now. I like to buy like pretty much everybody that's been on the podcast, I think, if they sell something, I've bought something from the website. So if shipping it isn't too much of a pain to Scotland, I'll definitely buy some.
Yeah, we ship all around the world.
Awesome.
Any country. Probably not North Korea, but country.
Very specific.
Yeah.
What like genuinely, what have you tried, or is it just not possible? Or
no, I was just assuming that probably no one can send mail there. I'm assuming.
Okay, I just do because you said that. I'm like, have you tried? And like, they've sent something back like, Caroline, we know where you are. Don't send the chocolate here. It's just I'll definitely go and have a look at that once we're finished. And I don't know. I like buying things. I don't know if it's a thing like as you get older, but I like nice, not like nice things. So when I say nice things, I don't mean like most people would like they would go a nice things like a Stone Island jumper. Like I don't give a shit about that. But like nice things. So if like somebody makes like a, like proper cacao, like that's a nice thing. Or like somebody who somebody made me a proper turned fruit bowl from wood. Like that's such a nice thing. It's just as you go, I don't know if it's a thing as you get older, but you like I'm so old. It's like it just nice, like a something that's like somebody's put like their own like time and hard work into it, and you could kind of feel when you get it that it's like somebody. It means something to the person who's made it, if you know what I mean. Really like that.
So my first question is, how old are you, Chris?
I am 36. I'll be 37 this year.
I love how you had to think really hard about that.
I've been hitting the head a lot.
Okay. I'm 34. So in terms of the age thing, I think definitely like as I grow older, I just have a lower tolerance for bullshit of all forms.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also I'm curious about like your astrology birth chart, because sometimes like depending on where planets are in our charts, that can like influence whether you like have a taste for fine things. I'm really into astrology, so yeah.
I don't understand any of it, but I'm December the 2nd, so I'm Sagittarius. I don't know any of it.
So that's where your sun is, but then your moon, rising sign, all the other planets, that will also play into it.
I don't know what anything means. Can you explain that to me? Because I don't know what that means. I have no idea.
So basically your moon sign is like the sign that the moon was in when you were born. So the moon moves through the signs every couple of days, and then each planet will be in its place, and then the rising is like which zodiac constellation was on the horizon when you were born, and that moves every couple of hours. So your rising sign is maybe even more important than your Sagittarius sun. But to know more, we'd have to look at your birth charts with your exact birth time, where you were born, and go from there. That's like a whole.
Okay.
That's another podcast. I don't know any of that. I don't know what time I was born or anything. I've never asked. Yeah, it's quite interesting. Like, yeah, it's not something I've ever looked at. I know it seems to be more like girls into that kind of thing. I'm not entirely sure.
That is
why.
true.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, I think anything kind of like woo-woo and spiritual tends to have more women interested in it than men. But I think
in terms of like spirituality, no, I think probably me and Ali would both say the same, like about kind of spiritual things. I think there's other things that, you know, clearly at play in the world. I just, you know, like horoscopes and things like that. I just never. It's just something that somebody's written down. I don't pay any attention to that. But in terms of like the spirituality, we were speaking to now. Who were we speaking? Was it Kedrick Olsen that we were speaking to about this?
Oh yeah, that's how I found out about your podcast, because I was on a Kedrick, and then I saw on his Instagram, and this is why we're here now.
That's so hilariously cool to me. So yeah, Ali had listened to Kedrick on Aubrey Marcus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he said that seems like, and you know, Ali just throws these suggestions at me, and I don't know why, because I always say fuck yeah. So he said Kedrick Olsen, he's you know, into, you know, Norse magic and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, fuck yeah, he speaks to us. That sounds amazing. So we spoke to him, and an absolute sweetheart of a man, like super nice. And it was quite interesting. We got into some things, and I think we'll probably do it again at some point.
Definitely. So how do you know Kedrick then, Caroline? Did you say you were on a call with him?
Of course. Okay, so there's this woman called Carolyn Elliott, and I mean, I could speak for a long time on her, but we did a course of her called Thrill. So it's basically a business course, or digital marketing for online businesses for magical people. So people who are into all the woo-woo magical stuff, and how to grow online businesses using like kind of practical techie stuff mixed with like the kind of spiritual magical side of things. So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy, that's for certain. Yeah, there's certain things that, you know, like horoscopes are just meaningless to me, but there's like other things that are not. So yeah, I think we got into one of the things that's and it's funny because I ran past it again last night, there's a tree that I run past regularly in the house, and I don't like this tree. The tree gives me I get a bad vibe from this tree. I was speaking to Kate, and he was saying, you know, you should go and, you know, just go and kind of feel it and talk to the tree and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, and I was going to do it last night, and I thought, I don't know, it's fucking insane, but like just patting this tree and say, oh, you're a good tree. You're a good wee tree, aren't you? But I didn't do it. But it's just this tree that I run past, and I get such a bad, and I know this makes it sound crazy, but it looks like the kind of tree that you're going to come round, and I always seem to run past it when it's just getting dark, and it genuinely feels like the kind of tree that you feel that you're going to run round and you're going to see somebody fucking swinging from. That's what it looks like to me. It's just a creepy tree, and I get such a bad vibe from it every time I go past.
Do you know what would be interesting, Chris? If you did like a past life regression, and it turned out you were the dude swinging from that tree in like 1842 or something.
That's a door we don't need to open. No, it's super strange. Like, yeah, and you know, we talked about some ghost stuff with Kedrick, you know, about ghosts and stuff, and me and Ali have both had experiences where it's like you know, when you speak to some people about ghosts or you know, anything like supernatural, some people are just fucking crazy and making things up. But we've both had experiences where you go, yeah, that shit was real. Yeah, so it was interesting to speak to Kedrick about all those things and how his approach to to ghosts and all that. It was really interesting. Really interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, it was.
I think there's definitely something in that tree situation for you to explore, and I'd say go for it. Like, and craziness, yes. Who cares if you're crazy?
Definitely crazy. Definitely crazy. But yeah,
it's very nourishing to hug a tree. Maybe not this one for you, but in general, hugging trees. Like, I don't do it in the Amazon because of bullet ants and like other shit that can spike me or like bite me. But in the British Isles, I think you're good to go.
Yeah, I just don't know if I want to be the guy who gets caught hugging trees. Like, I just do you know what I mean? Because I'm like 30, because I'm like 36 and I'm not married and don't have any kids, people already think, that guy's a bit, because everybody thinks by 36 you should be married with children. So they already think
that's bullshit.
So I don't want to be the guy who gets found like just cuddling trees one day. Like, what the fuck, man? He's not married, he doesn't have any kids, he lives alone, and now he's hugging trees. you know what I mean? I genuinely don't care about that stuff. It doesn't make any difference to me. But yeah, I don't know why. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. You may well get a personal video from me next weekend where I'm cuddling a tree.
I want to see that.
Yeah, it will be a private video, but that may happen.
It might well jump in.
Is there anything like in the Amazon that you're not allowed to like touch trees or anything because they're anything to do with like, are they sacred, or is there anything like that over there that you have to be careful from, like any plant or anything?
That is an amazing question. Let me just think about it for a second. Okay, so far nothing like that has been brought to my attention, but I feel like I want to say a bit about so the place where I am now, the town is called Puerto Maldonado, and it was started in 1900, and it was started by gold miners. So I feel like the energy of the place in the modern day centers around kind of like raping the land, and I feel like there's been a bit of a disconnection between like that form of sacredness and the land. I feel like around Machu Picchu, Cusco, that area, there's a lot more connection to like the Incas and the kind of the tribes. Although in this area there are some uncontactable tribes.
Oh, is there?
And literally they're called the Maco Piro, and they literally do not interact with any form of modern life, and they, if you'd approach them, they would probably shoot you with their arrow. And Romulo's seen them himself. Romulo was in a boat and they were going down the river, and these people were standing on the riverbank. And Romulo said he felt a bit, scared, but I just found that story fascinating. I love how there's people still living, with these ancient ways of living that have, been preserved for so long. So anyway, that was a kind of like sidetrack. But in general, the people who now inhabit these lands, the modern people, they're generally there just to, do their farming. So that's the reason why I think I haven't, heard of anything like, you can't touch this tree because for this reason. Yeah.
Just, something that, I know there's a lot of history, in connection with, like the uncontacted tribe. They probably will have some plant that's sacred, and you're not allowed to touch. I just didn't know if there was something like, don't touch this flower, or somebody's going to fucking shoot you. I didn't know if there's going to be something like that, but something so appealing about an uncontacted tribe. Like, it's something
I know.
Way of life, just like, this seems so nice.
It's incredible that they've, it's still survived up into the 21st century, especially when you kick in things like, mass deforestation, logging companies coming in and just hammering acres and acres of the forest, that there are still tribes out there that have managed to, protect their lands and still exist the way they have for, generations.
I know it really is special. And I don't know if Peru are so on this, but I do know in Brazil there's like campaigns to protect these people and these lands, because otherwise, the loggers would just come in and just cut everything down.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's so interesting. It would be like, I know you can't, but it's so nice to like kind of sneak in somehow and just kind of observe them from like a distance and just see what they do.
I
Like, how do they live? What are they doing? What are they eating? Are they, it'd be just so fascinating to just sit and watch for a couple of days. Like, just be cool.
I know. Oh, it's amazing. I
Yeah.
do know that they do look for turtle eggs along the riverbanks, so that's one of the things they eat. I've eaten a turtle egg before. It tastes like ham and cheese. It's got a really like intense cheesy hammy taste, but it's egg.
Interesting. What is there anything else like the locals eat that's like that, where it's a bit like we would think it was weird, but it's just normal to them?
Oh yeah, there's plenty. Okay, so a Peruvian speciality, which is just hideous to me, is these like dried potatoes, and called chuño, and then they boil them again, and it's not my thing, but that's really popular. And then in terms of exciting jungle meats that I've tried, it's called lagarto, and it's basically like a small crocodile. That's pretty tasty.
Okay.
I've also tried turtle. That's all I've tried personally, and also I know this is going to be a bit controversial for some people, but they also eat monkeys.
Okay.
I think it's funny. It's funny that that's controversial. Like, what's hilarious is that's controversial. There will be somebody who listens to that and gets really annoyed. But if that's what they do locally, then that's what they do locally. Like,
yeah,
like it kind of going off topic again, but it reminds me of there was a thing on Facebook a while ago, and it comes around every year when the Chinese have the cat. They eat like dogs. They just eat stray dogs. And there were so many people who were getting absolutely outraged here. Like, this is fucking disgraceful. It's disgusting. We should, stop doing things. Listen, if this is what they do, if this is normal to them, then it isn't weird. Like, I know you get upset because you have a pet dog and they're eating dogs and you think that's weird, but I mean, if that's what they do, then that's normal. So I mean, if people in Peru eat monkey, then I'm sure it'd be strange to to somebody in Peru to have a I don't know, like an Indian.
Yeah.
Strange, like
yeah.
that way. So yeah. What does monkey taste like?
I haven't personally tried it.
Oh, okay.
I would like, because I'm just very curious like that, but so far I haven't tried it yet. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. Like, a lot of people, I feel like in general at the moment there's a lot of like policing going on, like people saying, okay, this is not the way you should live your life and that's wrong, and da 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 da. So yeah, but this is they hunt what is available in nature.
Yeah, I know. Like a while ago when what was a lion called that they killed in Cecil?
Cecil the lion.
Yeah, and there was an absolute outrage, and then but people didn't, the people who were getting angry about it didn't realize the knock-on effect it had, like the local economy, because people stopped going. There was an incident in Scotland as well where an American girl shot a sheep, or was it a goat?
Yeah, it was a feral sheep on one of the Western Islands, where basically sheep have gone to Ireland and are just destroying everything because there's no natural predators.
So people were giving this girl death threats because they were saying it's ridiculous, it's disgusting, and she should never be allowed back to Scotland. But what they don't realise is that, or they willfully ignore the fact that she paid for it. The money goes back into conservation. The animal was destroying like crops, on farms. It was eating whatever they're growing, carrots or cauliflower, whatever they're growing, potatoes. So you have to deal with that problem. Otherwise, the knock-on effect is enormous. And people just kind of ignore that issue. It's strange, because they think that they're doing the right thing by saying you shouldn't kill the sheep, which is, but and the thing that that I find funny about that is the same kind of people who will, if they're on holiday in Thailand, take a picture with an elephant or a tiger in a cage. You think, no, that's awful. You've got a caged animal that you're taking. That, to me, that's awful. And what the other side of that is what has to be done in order to keep order, essentially.
Mm-hmm. When you say feral sheep, like wild sheep that like don't belong to a farmer, is that what you meant?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they'd basically escaped from another farm on one of the other islands and had overran this relatively small island. So they had to cull it, essentially. They had to cull the sheep. And she had been flown in she came across from America, paid a lot of money to the local estate as well, and shot a few of the sheep and a couple of the goats that were kicking about there as well. And everyone went crazy about it, even though, people go up and shoot stags every year in those gaming estates. They shoot grouse every year on the gaming estates.
Yeah.
I think there's that point where I think certain animals people have an emotional attachment to.
Yeah.
Whereas other types of animals you don't. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone wants to save the panda because it looks so cute sitting there. But no one wants to save like some one-eyed weird fish that lives in the mud, but is actually an essential part of the ecosystem because it feeds so many other things. But because it looks horrific and it's got one eye and spines on its back, it doesn't get the same attention as the cute panda or the cute koala or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is why it would be so nice to live like where you are now, because you probably don't get any of this like outside interference. It's kind of like secluded and you don't get all this noise, like social media noise and all that kind of stuff.
That's an interesting thing you say, because on the one hand, I use social media and I get put into other kinds of noise, and because I don't read, well, since I'm a child, I don't read the news, but I don't listen to the local news anyway, so I guess I feel like in a little bit of a bubble. But what I know, I hear what you're saying about it. It's kind of like nice to like live in this natural setting, but after a year here, I'm getting to the point where I'm really missing comfort and luxury. Like you were saying earlier, Chris, about like luxuries and nice things. I'm really missing that.
Yeah.
And
yes, you would.
Yeah.
Like eventually, like at some point, you really would just like a Domino's, like it's just like a Domino's, like a Domino's just seems nice. I
was going to say, Caroline, when you were talking about social media there, and just when your story broke, because when I was doing a bit of research for the podcast, your story turns up on every single news site going up here in the UK. Like I found an article about you on Lad Bible, there was one in the Sun, there was one in the Express, there was one in the Star. Did you get a lot of like kickback and blowback from people when your story first kind of came out? Probably was it kind of last summertime? I think maybe the first articles were starting to appear. Would that be about right? Did you get much people sort of commenting in a negative way?
Oh yeah, so the article came out at the end of January this year, so literally 3 months ago, and for the most part, people have been supportive. But do you know where the negative comments have come from? Is so basically what happened is it appeared on those platforms, and social media sites in Latin America heard about it, and it blew up. It's like bigger in South America than in the UK. And most of our followers are in Latin America. And I've had so many mean comments. The general themes are, oh, she's just using that guy to get rich, which I find fucking hilarious, because it's like, yeah, we literally were living in a hut in the jungle. And I'm obviously after Romulo for his like huge wadges of cash he's got stashed away. So that I find quite.
Yeah.
And then there's also from men this time, people just making mean comments about Romulo's appearance and saying some kind of racist stuff. So I just blocked those motherfuckers because I put that on my page.
Yeah, you know what? Like, me and Ali have, we're silly and we joke and stuff, but when somebody's just doing what they want to do, like, why would you even, comment on something that, like, so negatively? Like, if somebody's not hurting you, why does it matter? What's the gain for somebody who's, somebody looking at you and saying anything in any negative ways? Like, why? How does this affect you? Like, I think it just brings out their own, I don't know, misery. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck's it? What's it matter to you if this girl left the UK and she's living in fucking Peru? Shut the fuck up. Go eat donuts. What are you talking about? I mean, I don't understand this. Like, I know me and Ali are both very much the same with this. Like, we don't care what you do as long as you're not hurting other people. Like, who gives a shit? Do you know?
Yeah.
Totally. And this has been something brought into my attention this last week, because this last week really kicked off on the networks I'm in social media. And it's like, I think when people are on the internet, they've got this like protection because they're just on the screen, and then they just feel like they want to police people and criticize people, and that like wastes your precious energy that you can be putting into yourself and into like the good stuff you do in the world. And it's really like tempting to get sucked into the drama. But yeah, I'm with you on that. It's like, why are you policing other people on the internet, honestly?
Yeah, it's just so annoying.
It's unnecessary, and I think, like Chris was saying, it shows that they obviously don't have anything better in their life to spend their time on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you had something better in your life, you wouldn't spend time commenting on social media just to say, "Oh, I think that sucks," or "I think you're doing the wrong thing." Just
I was laughing.
Have other things to do.
Your face had, like, your camera had froze, but like in a really weird position. So you looked weirder than normal. Sorry, I was just laughing at that.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny, Callie, because what happens quite regularly is the last time, it must have been Wednesday. We're supposed to do this on Wednesday, yeah. And then it kept freezing. So Ali had this, like, he froze in this position, but he kind of done this. So I photoshopped it into like loads of different situations, like the Last Supper, and I just like photoshopped Ali's face into one of these. It's just I'm like 36 and I'm a fucking child. I just thought that would have happened again. But yeah, I've completely lost my train of thought now. I have no idea what I was talking about.
That's all right.
No, it is funny when people's faces freeze in Zoom and and then that thing where the video catches up and then the voice goes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all good fun. So yeah, what are the plans going forward, Caroline? Do you have any, like, are you there now? Do you plan to come back to visit? Are you?
This is where I have no clarity. I guess the next step would be waiting to go back to the UK and going back for at least, a month or two, just because I fucking miss my friends and family and just like English things, like familiarity, food, because I have to say I don't like the food here. I'm like, the fruit is amazing. The fresh jungle fruits. You have fruits that you've never seen in England before. But then the rest of the food isn't, I don't really like it. And so then go back to England, and then from there kind of feel into like what next, because when I try and look too far in the future and think, would I settle in Peru long term? Because I feel like I left England before the pandemic really hits, and the England I'd go back to, maybe it's changed in a way that is unfamiliar to me now. I just don't know. So I honestly live my life now like 1 or 2 weeks at a time.
Do you not find that to be like really freeing to kind of go, what happens, and just kind of, go with the flow and see where it takes you, especially when there's no, like, if you don't have like a burden of like having a mortgage or having to, having like an expensive lifestyle to maintain, you could kind of just, live freely and You know, if you want to go home, you can go home, and if you want to stay there, or you know, you want to go someplace else and explore you know, I like the idea of that. It sounds, you know, it's cool to have, you know, things, but then you have to maintain all those. You know, so you have your car, and you have a house, and you have you know, whatever you're paying. You know, just simple things like gym memberships, and these are all cool things, but you have to maintain all those things. Where if you live how you're living, you can kind of just be free and live. But then again, like you say, you miss the kind of creature comforts of being able to go to McDonald's at 2 o'clock in the morning. You know.
I have to say, that wasn't really one of my comforts, but I know what you're
Yeah.
And also I miss having friends. Like, besides Romulo, I don't really have any friends here. So yeah, a lot of time spent by myself, with Cacao and the jungle for company, and obviously the people I interact with through my phone. So it would be nice. But you know, there's a part of me that has fear around like being physically close to people again. It's like, oh my gosh, that's going to be really intense. Like actually speaking to people.
Like going,
like,
you know, going back to a big city. Like where were you from in England?
So originally I'm from Oxford, but I've spent most of my adult life in London.
Okay, so yeah, going back to London, like I worked in London for a while, and it scared me. Like, this is fucking, I don't understand. Like, like I remember, you know, when we drove down from Scotland because we did some, you know, I worked in London for 2 months in 2010. Now I remember passing Heathrow on whatever the motorway was, and then it was like London Stansted was like 44 miles away, and it's like, I don't understand. Like, how does that work? Like, how can it be 44 miles away and still be in the same city? Like, does it?
I know.
Because that's like Glasgow to Edinburgh. It's almost that kind of distance. You know, that doesn't make fucking sense. How? It's terrifying. Such a huge place.
It's an intense place. I've had a real love-hate relationship with London. It's like, I love it, but I hate so much about it. But what changed for me was finding the right area of London to live in. So I went to uni in London. So for university, and then the years after, I was in southwest London, and that really wasn't my kind of scene. And then when I moved to kind of northeast London, it's a lot more kind of like quiet. There's more green spaces, and there's more stuff going on that suited me. That changed.
How do you think Romelu would react to London?
Do you know, I've thought about this many times, and I've had thoughts like, he'll either be totally overwhelmed and be like, what the actual fuck? Because Romulo, he spent most of his life in Puerto, which is Puerto's a bit of a dump. You know, there's the jungle, but the town itself isn't that great. And then he spent a lot of time in the jungle working. So he started working when he was 14, which is really young. I feel like in the UK, that's a really young age to start working, especially so physically hard. Like, he is so strong. He can carry 120 kg bag of Brazil nuts up a muddy slope. It's like, what the fuck? So, you know, he's had that's the life he's grown up in. And so I'm like, would he just like combust if he went to London? But getting to know him, he's also so adaptable and open. And I think he would just probably love it and be like, wow, everything's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, he'd be resilient.
Yeah, one way or the other, it would just be horrendous, or it would be amazing. Yeah, one way or the other, yeah. I fucking hate it. I fucking hate it. I couldn't wait to get. I don't like. So I grew up in a tiny little place, which had like 14 houses. So I grew up in a tiny little place, and even going to Glasgow, I'm like, fuck all this. Everybody's annoying me. I don't like it. Everybody's rude.
You probably love the jungle then, Chris.
No, it's because nice. I am terrified of snakes.
Oh, yes, there are snakes, but
fuck that.
This is another like. This is bringing some more like magical woo-woo into it, but I okay, I've been here over a year, as you know, and I've only seen a snake twice. And I genuinely think it's because the animals that come into our awareness are like there to give us guidance. So I see a lot of hummingbirds, and they're beautiful. And I meet a lot of owls recently, and an eagle. But Romulo, on the other hand, sees snakes a lot. So I think like unless the snakes had certain messages for you, I believe you may not see them. But yes, they do obviously exist in the jungle. But
yeah, I get shivers when somebody says snake.
I've
snakes
got a massive. I've got a massive snake tattoo on my back. I love snakes, so I'm quite sad I see them all.
So like I have in the past like been climbing hills, doing Munros in Scotland on my own, and it's getting like dark and it's getting cloudy. And in my head, because I'm crazy, I'm thinking about how I'm going to fight off a big cat if I see a big cat. Like I have a strategy of how I'm going to fight off a big cat. And then Ali's like, so I'm thinking about how I'm going to fight. I think I'm going to grab its jaw and then I'm going to fucking break its head. And kill it. I'm genuinely thinking about this. But then Ali will say, there's just whoever, like 2 or 3 people, like he's like a reptile expert, you know, really, you know, he does all this stuff with snakes and that. I'm like, no, we're not fucking having one on the podcast. I am not speaking to, like, freak out so bad. So maybe that tree, maybe like a snake attacked me in that tree. Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe it was an old adder could have got you.
But yeah, I'm so, I can't watch things.
Genuinely, I've tried a couple of times to get proper world-class herpetologists on that would come on and talk to us about snakes. And it's the only time, you know, Chris said earlier, I pretty much message him and he's like, yeah, get them on. It doesn't matter who it is, unless it involves snakes. And then Chris is just like, no. I'm like, but he won't bring snakes on. We'll just no. But we'll just talk no.
No, not
happening. There'll be no pictures of no. It's just a straight no. We've just not been able to do it.
You know what? You know when everybody was watching Tiger King? You know, that crazy Netflix thing. So I watched the first 5 minutes of it, and then there was like a massive fucking python thing, and I was like, oh, switch off! No, not watching it. And that was it. Like, I'm just not watching it. I just hate them. They're so slithery and...
Yes, you haven't on a real snake.
What was that, sorry?
Have you touched a real snake?
No.
They're amazing.
I have the only thing, if I seen one, I would only thing would be like, how can I stomp on this little fucker's head? Like that's all I would think about. It's like, no. Oh. Ugh.
That's why in the jungle, and Romulo tells me off for this, he's like, don't go walking without a machete. In case the
snake. See, that's a clip. That's a clip we're going to have for that. That's going to be the little. That's going to be the little
promo teaser.
Promo. Don't go walking without a machete. Solid advice.
And it's true. And you know, also if there's like branches in the way, you can just cut it back. And obviously, for snakes and stuff. But I don't see snakes on my walk. I'm really disappointed because I love snakes.
Chris does not deal well with snakes at all. Even as you were saying there, Caroline, walking through the jungle with overhanging branches, there must be snakes sat up on them that, as you say, they're keeping quiet and out of the way, so you're just not even aware of it.
Probably, yeah. And all kinds of other things. You know, I've had situations like scenarios in my head, like what would I do if I saw a jaguar right now? But no, there's something I wanted to, Chris, when you asked me about the kind of sacred trees, and it popped into my mind to tell you guys about. There's a myth. So apparently there's this jungle creature, and he's like got the legs of a goat, but the body of a human, and it's like a very small creature. And I can't remember the name that they use for it, but you know, Romulo's told me stories of him, you know, being asleep in the jungle and then feeling something tug at his legs in the night. And it's those kind of situations where they think it's this this person.
That's pretty
nice.
I always get, when you think about how big, like, I don't know how big the jungle is round about we are, but it must be enormous. And you think, what if there is, like, this uncontacted tribes? So it's not too crazy to think that there's some weird animal that nobody just knows. Like,
Yeah.
because every culture has these myths about animals, whatever it is. So it's not impossible. I know it sounds crazy, but it's not impossible.
Absolutely. And I've sometimes like gone for walks in the full moon alone in the jungle, and I was walking along the track, and I got to a point where I couldn't take it anymore. The fear got me, and I went back. But part of me like desperately wants to meet this kind of goat human animal, but another part of me is very scared.
Take the machete.
Take the machete and you'll be fine.
It's not a dissimilar thing I would say to somebody if they were going walking in London, to be fair. Take a machete.
You'll be safer.
Take a machete. Just a wee one, but yeah, take a wee machete. But yeah, it's I actually so if you do meet a jaguar, in my head, so me and Ali both do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, so what we call pulling guard. So I would say, can it go back down onto your back with your feet planted and wait for the jaguar to pounce on you, but try and catch its jaw and break its head. That's my plan. I've thought about this extensively, so it will work. Or you'll get eaten, one of the two, but that's my plan. So that's it.
Do you not think, though, as you're laid on the ground and the jaguar jumps at you, your brain just turns it into a rainbow because it knows it's about to get absolutely destroyed? And every endorphin and everything floods your body and just changes that image of the jaguar leaping. It's like, oh, look, a rainbow, and then it just hits you and disembowels you in a heartbeat.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, I've thought about it. I really have thought about that. but yeah, I've had these. It's quite funny when you're talking about going for a walk in the woods. Like I've found, so I did a marathon once where you ran from dusk into the night and it was dark, and in the last little stretch was running through these trees, and I started to get weird. I was looking at trees at the lowest branch I could climb in case a bear came. Like I'm going, if a bear comes, that tree's okay, and then I'd run like another 100 meters and be like, if a bear comes, that tree's okay. And I was thinking about this whole way through, and it's not till like a certain point you go, there's no fucking bears. I'm in Northumberland. What the fuck am I talking about? I don't know if it's like a thing about the woods. You get like, I don't know, like you get start to like hallucinate or I don't know. It's something that happens when I'm in the trees. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know, but I feel like the trees do something to you where you start getting these weird vibes and weird ideas. I don't know if is that something you've ever found, like walking around in the jungle?
Oh, totally. When it gets dark, you have not experienced darkness until you've been to the Amazon, and the whole like night, because the stars are incredible because of the lack of light pollution. But when stars are covered by the tree canopy, it's darkness like you've never experienced. And in that darkness, I imagine forms and energies as well. And I'm like, I'm convinced the jungle's like riddled with spirits and everything. And then you shine your light, and then it kind of brings the actual tree, and you're like, oh, there's nothing there. And then you turn the light off again, and then again these forms come out. So yeah, I was gonna say, like, are there bears in Scotland or Northumberland where you?
No, there's none. I'm just crazy. But yeah, it's just the things that go through my head. Like I don't know why that happened, it just did. But one of the things that was so cool, so the reason that just because you've mentioned like the stars and stuff, so one of the reasons that I did that marathon was so it's called Heal the Dark Skies. I think it's the darkest skies in England. So I went with the intention of hopefully it was a good night and you could see some of the Milky Way. So I was talking to this guy on the way around, running around, and he was telling me, a bit of a story, and I think he'd been in Australia and his girlfriend had died. And he came back to Scotland and you know, this marathon, and you know, we're talking. He says, "Oh, what, you know, one of the reasons that I did it was because I hope to see the Milky Way." I was like, "Fuck, man, that's exactly why I did this marathon. I really want to see the Milky Way because that's like a life goal. Because I think it's like just fascinating." So there was these two kind of middle-aged women behind us going, "Oh, what's the Milky Way?" And I was like, if you see it, you'll know. She went, "Yeah, but what is it?" How do I explain this to you? I don't know. I don't, like, how do you explain this to two people that don't know what the Milky Way is? So, but yeah, we've never seen it, but that's something. Have you seen the Milky Way when you've been in the Amazon? Or
Oh yeah, I was going to say, it kind of surprised me that you were not surprised, because the Milky Way, when it's a cloudless night, the Milky Way is here every night. I mean, visible every night. Where the Milky Way is visible, so that's quite like normal for me. But then I forget that actually in the UK you probably can't see it in places.
I think you can. There's some place in like Dumfries and Galloway, allegedly, that's the darkest skies in Britain.
It's just across the road. It's about a mile away from my mate's house. It's proper pitch black. I'd seen it down there. I'm surprised you've not seen it up the Highlands though, Chris, because I've seen it up at Fort Augustus, just outside Inverness. One night we were camping, and I came out and you could see it.
I have seen people that have seen it, and I have went out to try and kind of hunt for it, but it's never occurred to yet. But you know, I'll get there eventually. I think that would be. So I know somebody who did, a friend of mine from jiu-jitsu, and they went to the same place they did the marathon, and they got to see the Milky Way, but they all done DMT at the same time, and they were tripping balls like the Milky Way was there, and they were having all these mad illusions about, you know, what was going on. So, but that seems fun. Like I don't care about drugs, but that seems like cool. You know, it seems really cool. But yeah, it's something that I'd love to see. Like to see the sit and look at the Milky Way at night would be so, like, I don't want anybody around me at that point. I'd like to be on my own, just kind of staring up at it and going, "This is so big."
I'll take a picture for you, Chris.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. I've not even seen the Northern Lights when I've been on my travels here either. That's something that I have to see as well.
Yeah, I'd love to see them as well. I like to go to Lapland and, you know, stay in, and they've got some amazing hotels, you know, made of glass, and you can look up at the Northern Lights. That would be cool to do.
You can see them in Scotland as well. Like if you're in the Highlands at the right time, you do see them. Yeah, there's some so cool. I just like the world's so amazing. Like it's just so fucking cool. There's so many cool things. Do you know when when people like me, you know, you speak to people and like, oh, there's nothing to do. Fuck off, man. There's so many cool things to see. Yeah, I get it. Kind of pisses me off. You know, just watching the sunrise. Do you get like cool sunrises and cool sunsets where you're? Oh no!
We'll give it a minute. We'll let her jump back in. I could see she was having a few issues there. Hello.
Oh, sorry.
It's fine.
Basically, what happens is when the phone connects to the Wi-Fi is so shit. So I had to turn the Wi-Fi off and just use my data. There we go.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No,
at all.
So I was just asking, do you get really nice sunsets and sunrises where you are?
Then I wouldn't say they're the best in the world, because the jungle's very flat, so it's you can't really, it's not like you've got this long I can't even speak anymore. you don't like of the sun coming up and setting, but I mean the clouds here, like at twilight, you know, pinks and purples and all that's very pretty. But you know, you can't see more than, I think that's one of the things I miss actually, is being able to see great distances. So I was born in South Africa, and I've also lived there as an adult. And in South Africa, because of like the mountains, around the Cape Town area, you can see for like 100 kilometers, and those like long distances. And in the jungle, it's, you know, it's very close and dense, and maybe you'd be lucky if you see a kilometer or two into the distance. So yeah, that's something quite different for me here. It's just like the energy in general here, it's very like intense and dense and humid, and it's amazing, but it's also, I miss the sea, you know, having that breeze and closeness to the ocean.
Yeah.
I just kind of went on a tangent.
No, I like it.
That's what we like about this podcast, is the weird tangents you go off on with people when you go, how the fuck did we, how did we get here? So one thing, you know, and we'll finish up on this because I know you're using your data now, and we've been going for like an hour or whatever. So
don't worry about the data. Don't worry about the data.
It's fine. So yeah, you've mentioned energy quite a few times tonight. So that's something that I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated with energy. So what's your thought process around about energy from people, things, objects?
Oh, I love this question. Okay, so the way I see the world is that even though we like to see objects around us, and, you know, there's trees and we live on planet Earth and we're humans, like underneath that, we're just like waves of energy, and our human experience kind of distills all these energies into form and whatnot. So underneath everything we see is energy. So and we're all made of energy, and based on that, like everything is interconnected. So like where my energy is just like a continuum of like all the energy around me. So by that score, it's possible to tap into the energies of all the different things. So like Chris and his tree, like you're connected energetically to that tree somehow. You're tapping into that. Actually, you're not really, you know, when you approach that tree, so like the human energy field, your body's energy field, it extends outwards for, I don't know the exact distance, but it's at least 1 or 2 meters. So like when we're physically close to people, our energies are overlapping.
Yeah.
That's just explaining like really basic terms. And
yeah, so I said something very similar to Kedrick actually when we were talking to Kedrick. So, and my thing was, you know, if the Big Bang was real, okay, this goes way back. So if the Big Bang is real, which almost certainly it was, I wasn't there, but you know, then everything, you know, everything would have to be energy. So everything, you know, do you just take like a human form in a brief moment in time as energy just becomes different things? Or, you know, because you feel, you know, like that tree, there's certain things that you just you get a connection with, or certain people, you meet a certain person, you go, I don't even like this person, I don't know them. Or you get somebody who you don't really know and you go, I really like this person and I don't know them, you know, you and Romolo for example. So, you know, I think it's something that's so, like, the energy is so fascinating. Like, it's just because, you know, I think that everything would have to be energy from.
Yes, that's, you know, that's absolutely it. And like energy can't be created or destroyed; it just kind of converts its form.
So as long as the universe exists, the energy has to be there. And even when a human being dies or an animal dies, its energy has got to still be here because it's not going anywhere. It still has to exist. Yeah. So, and
I was going to say as well, like when we die, and then like the molecules that are made up of bodies, like goes into the soil, and then trees grow. That's again putting in really basic terms, but yeah, it's just this constant. And I think this would be a nice chance to share with you an experience I had. So I did an ayahuasca journey in November, and I had quite a frightening experience. Well, frightening to my mind, that is. I basically who I am, Caroline, my body kind of like dissolved, and I just became this undulating universal energy, just pure like consciousness and awareness. And it was really fucking weird. And yeah, very threatening to my ego that likes to be really attached to my identity, to this body. And it was just like, what the fuck? Is my whole life this? Did I dream being this person? And yeah, it was a real head fuck. And then, you know, that moment passed and I came back to my body and I was like, yeah, but that's how things are. And we are like compacted into these bodies to have this human experience. But that's how, and then I tapped back into that experience. I think it was last week or the week before. I was just meditating. I wasn't on any kind of plants. And I popped back to that awareness of just being this energy. And it wasn't as frightening this time. It was still weird though. And then I just brought myself back to my body. And so, yes, everything is just pure energy.
So, interestingly, a friend of mine, a friend of ours actually, I never told Ali this actually, so I won't mention his name, but a friend of ours had messaged me to say that he had done DMT last week. Yeah. And the word that he used was he felt like he dissolved, like his body just like he watched his own body dissolving. You know, and all, you know, his surroundings were all vivid, the colors were all like super vivid. But it's just interesting because you said you felt like you dissolved. My friend had said the same thing. You know, body dissolved, which is it's something that's I have no interest. Like I'd never had any interest in any drugs. I just wasn't interested. But like doing an ayahuasca trip or some DMT just seems like super cool. I don't know. It's just something that seems really cool.
Yeah, I mean, we could do a whole nother podcast on plant medicines, but these plant medicines, they are energy as well, and we consume them, and that energy becomes part of our bodies and part of our awareness. And with the cacao as well, like I hold every 2 weeks there with the new moon and with the full moon, I hold cacao ceremonies over Zoom. And again, bringing it back to energy, I was very skeptical about doing anything kind of online before the pandemic, let alone something kind of more spiritual like a ceremony. And I'm just amazed at how even in Zoom, in a cacao ceremony, you can still feel the magic, feel the energies of the other people. Like now we're in a Zoom call, but we're still connected. And it's like, what the fuck? How does that even work? It's really quite amazing.
The world is an amazing. So yeah, just on that, you know, the way that this sort of came about was you had commented on a post on Instagram just saying there's nothing better than a Scottish accent or something. And then what happened was you go, you know, when you look at something you go, okay, who's this fucking crazy asshole? And then you look at the Instagram page like, oh, this is actually like quite a big page. Like, okay, what's going on here then? So then it's like, oh no, because like, and Ali, I'll tell you the story about when you added your personal page. So, like a lot of these you get like bots, and you go, "Oh man, this is so cool." And you go, "Okay, fuck off, you idiot." And then, but yeah, like you're like, I checked the page, like, okay, what is this page? And then you look at it. So Ali had a similar thing when you added your personal page. I'll let Ali tell that story because that's quite funny.
Yeah, so not your Jungle Cacao Peru one, your personal one, which is Body Love Chick.
Babe.
Yeah.
Body Love Babe.
So that's Bobby Love. Apologies.
No, just to let you know, it's not yes, it is personal in that it's like mine rather than being like the cacao, but it is also my business page for the work that I do as a body love coach. But yeah, that's just splitting hairs right now. Continue the story. I want to hear it.
Okay, yeah. So when I think it was off the back of when we posted our guest list for this month, because I normally put together like a little snip with like pictures of the 4 or 5 guests plus the Silly Goose Gang logo and tag it all in, say coming up this month, here's our guest, so that people can kind of drop in and drop out. And inevitably the people that have been tagged in it, you know, tend to reshare it onto their own stories. So you get the notification that comes through. So, you know, yourself under the Jungle Peru Cacao or Cacao Peru reshared it. And then my phone buzzed again, and it came up that Body Love Babe has sent you a message. And I instantly thought Russian sex bot because of the name, like Body Love Babe. So I genuinely went to delete it. And then I was like, they've shared our story. How is that Russian sex bot shared our story? So then I clicked through onto the profile and realized it was your, like, as you say, your kind of personal business alongside the Peru. But it genuinely nearly got blocked because I was convinced it was like a Russian sex bot when I just saw like Body Love Babe. I was like, it's a Russian sex bot. It's not real. Like, delete.
I love that. Thank you for telling me. Like, what is even? I didn't know that was a thing, a Russian sex bot. But
Oh
it sounds
God.
like it.
I get messages on the daily on Instagram and on Facebook on Messenger, and it is just by the name, but it's a really weird name, and it's just trying to send you links to fucking porn and all sorts of shit, like weird, like, and you go, like, fuck off, every day, every single day. So yeah, it was quite, but yeah, it happens. Like, people comment on YouTube and on Instagram. People comment on things, and you just kind of go, it's nothing. So yeah, it was the same thing with you, but then it like all connects, and you go, this is quite cool. So we had another one of those yesterday. Somebody commented on to, a fairly famous guy. It said he had wanted to do a podcast, and somebody had tagged us in it. So now we're going to do this podcast with somebody else because you connect. It's just like, this is so bizarre, the way that everything just starts kind of like fitting into the world. It's just so cool. Like, I love it. It's so nice.
Yeah. Especially, when you think we started this podcast, Caroline, just to give you a bit of background, we started this podcast the first week of lockdown in Scotland because me and Chris were bored, and we thought, if we get 5 or 6 episodes out of it, that'll be cool. We'll always have 5 or 6 episodes. And now this is episode 63, and we spoke to, including yourself, many, many cool people from all over the world that, a year ago we wouldn't have even have been aware of. Do you know what I mean? And it's just been a crazy ride. As you've been talking about energy, you fire the energy out there and people respond to it and come back in and agree to come on the podcast. And
we've now got like a guy who messages us fairly regularly, Christian in Uruguay, who's listens to us in Uruguay, and he's a cool guy. So it's just bizarre. It's so strange. We've got Mike Bolton out in Panama, who's a guest. Mike's like 80, and he's still like diving with sharks and taking pictures, and he always just checks in to say, how you guys doing? It's always amigos, how are you? And fucking coolest guy in the world. It's just, we've made all these like really cool friends, and it's so bizarre. It's amazing. But then I don't know, I guess we put out good vibes and
oh yeah. And this is like the beauty of social media. It connects people that otherwise would never have even like been in each other's awareness, even though there is like a more toxic side. It's like, being sucked in to like, but I guess that's life, isn't it? There's like shitty sides, and then there's amazing sides as well. So there's, I thought, fuck social media, I'm going to go off social media, but that's a little bit like throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah. So what I would always say is, there's as many nice people as there is absolute dickheads. But what you'll find is the dickheads, like, the people comment on your story, very few people, people are very quick to go, that shit, but not very, whatever it is, whether it's a situation, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a product they've bought, whether it's a service I've paid for, people are super fast to say that's shit, but not everybody's as fast to say that's awesome. So the people who are negative will always share the negativity, but not everybody who's positive will always share that. So you get this weird, unnatural balance that, like, we think everybody's being horrible, but there's as many nice people as there is absolute fucking dickheads. So I think everybody has to remember that, there's as many cool people in the world as fucking absolute dickheads. So but the dickheads are generally louder. So yeah, absolutely. And also the human tendency to focus on the negative over the positive, that's like the negativity bias, and it's helped us like survive as a species. So like, back in the day when we were fighting saber-toothed tigers,
the tendency to like always be looking out for danger helps us to survive, but it does mean that we focus more on the negative and the threats and bad shit than the positive.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I don't have any time for that. I just try and be positive. Try and get up and be positive, and hopefully we put some positive vibes out there for everybody and give them something funny to watch and listen to. And it's quite cool because we know of certainly one podcast that started because of us, and there's another couple that have started doing, and they wouldn't say it was because of us, but yeah, because of us, but they just won't say that. But yeah, it's certainly a couple of girls who Ali knows who started a podcast, about being single mothers, and it's essentially, they'd seen us and went, well, if they can do it, why can't we?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love that. And you look so professional with your mics. I'm like, wow, that's like serious podcast.
Right, this is where it gets fucking insane. Right? So basically, me and Ali are just two guys from small villages in Fife. We're nobody from nowhere. We're not important. Last November, we had booked in Jack Carr, who was a 20-year Navy SEAL, New York Times best-selling author. He had to move our podcast back by 15 minutes because he was on Fox News talking about the presidential election in America to speak to us. We had on now our friend Jason Gardner, again, Command Master Chief in the Navy SEALs, Silver Star recipient. We had on Laura Zera, who was on Naked and Afraid, and an insane, crazy adventurer. Nest Knight, exactly the same, South African girl who's an insanely crazy adventurer. And who else is on, Ali? Was that Megan as well?
Oh, yeah, Megan McDougall that month. Yeah,
we looked at that month and went, okay, we've been doing this for a while now. I think this is the month we should buy microphones because those guests are genuinely. So what was funny was Jack Carr, who was the first guest, he was episode 48. He was just on Joe Rogan's podcast last week.
Oh.
And
wow.
Because he's got a new book out and it's been published everywhere. So it's one of those things where it's like we're Instagram friends now. So it's like he just can say, "Awesome, Jack, podcast is amazing," and he replies back to you just like, "I don't understand how this happened. Like how did this happen? You've just done the biggest podcast in the world, and it's like you're speaking to some idiot from Scotland saying thank you." It's just so hilarious. Yeah, it's a kind of.
You guys are on Zoom. Woo!
We're on Zoom now.
I know.
Way better. Skype sucks.
I know. And that's again like the microphone situation. We chose Skype early doors because it was free. And we weren't sure. We thought we were only going to get 4 or 5 episodes in. And we persevered with Skype way longer than we should have because it caused us all kinds of issues at multiple times. And last Wednesday, when we were trying to connect with your good self, literally as soon as I opened, that's like Chris was saying why I froze because I tried to launch the app on my laptop like 4 times. And it would open, I'd connect with Chris and it would shut down. I was literally like...
Yeah, sucks.
Just so done. So shout out to Caroline for convincing us to move on to Zoom.
It was Caroline.
Oh, you're so...
So we now pay for this. We pay for the pro version now, which is just better. And when you put the video up, it jumps from whoever's speaking back and forward, so it looks cooler as well on the video. So yeah, it was I don't know. I've got a good friend of mine who he had a window company that in Scotland, and when lockdown hit, he changed to do some sell summer houses now basically. But he's one of the people who took the opportunity, like this is an absolute shit show, and then he took the opportunity to do something about it. Where we've done the same. So we took this opportunity of going, okay, if we ever want to do a podcast, now's the time because people are doing nothing. Like they will watch because there's nothing else to do. So like life throws you opportunities. I don't have to tell you this. Life throws you these opportunities and you take them. And holy shit, I'm living in Peru. The fuck? Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things where you just go, like, life has an amazing way of throwing you these curveballs, and you just fucking roll with them. And see
Yeah.
what it-
Like I would guarantee money that when you went out to Peru, Caroline, for that 2-week yoga camp, the thought of staying there for 12 months was never ever in your mind. And now here you are
No.
a year later.
I know this has been, and actually this is something I challenge myself with. So at the moment, a lot of my focus is going into growing my coaching business, and I've got a lot of limiting beliefs, like I just can't imagine it succeeding. And then I challenge myself and I say, could you have imagined ending up in the Peruvian Amazon making cacao? No. So
Yeah.
exactly. And also, before I came to Peru, chocolate actually used to give me a hangover. Like I'd have the tiniest bit of chocolate or cacao, and the next day I'd be fucked. I'd feel really shitty. And so I just avoided cacao and all forms of chocolate. And it's since being in Peru, and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to give this another go because it's the land where it's grown in. And yeah, look where I am now.
Yeah. You know what? Sorry, this name drops again, but sometimes you have to hear things from people. And it was Will Willis, who was the host of Forest of Fire on the History Channel. We spoke to Will for 3 hours. Again, fucking coolest guy in the world. And he was, we're talking off camera, and he was just saying, fucking guys are doing an amazing job. Look at where you are. Look at where you've come from. Look at where you are. And sometimes you have to hear something from just exactly what you've said. Sometimes you have to hear from somebody else what you're doing, and you go, fucking hell, man, like, why can't we do this? And why can't your coaching thing be a success? Like, what's the reason? And sometimes you have to hear it from somebody else, and you go, fucking, actually, you're right. I'm actually doing all right at this. And, I'm not, I don't think I would be, or I didn't think I would be, or I don't think I can go any further. But then you go, well, look at where we are. Like, this happened. Your coaching thing happened because you made it happen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Nobody else made it happen. So you made that happen. So it's already a success. So how much more of a success can it be? Who knows? But you have to keep doing it for it to be more successful. So
yeah,
it's such a British mindset though, that, isn't it? It's just like, it's a bit rubbish. It's going to be okay. I think Brits on the whole kind of default to that. Do you not think so? Like we go to that default of, how are things? Not too bad. Do you know what I mean? We never say things are brilliant. We're always, how are you today? Not too bad. Yeah. Slightly better than bad. Not too bad.
Yeah.
You've just reminded me of this amazing. It's a little clip from a Bill Bailey comedy show.
Yes.
And that phrase that I don't know if they use in Scotland, but in England it's like, how are you? Well, all things considered, not too bad. And so Bill Bailey's like, really? Have you considered all things? And he goes, have you considered the sunlight falling on a shepherd's face in Patagonia? And he goes on this whole like spiel about all the things that, have you considered this? And it's so funny.
Yeah.
I literally saw that about a week ago. It is a genius clip. Genius.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All things considered, we're doing fucking quite well. You know what? Even without considering anything else, we're all still doing pretty fucking well. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, it's something that I've spoken about this before in the podcast. Like, I don't understand. Again, this is a controversial thing to say in these days. I don't understand how people get depressed, because I wake up every day just going, this is fucking awesome. Like, I can get to go and do what I want to. Like, I obviously I know that mental illness is something that's really came to the forefront in the last year, because a lot of people have been struggling. But I don't, like, I've never woke up any time feeling depressed. I wake up and go, fuck man, I can go for a run. Cool.
Oh.
Like, you know what I mean? That's just I guess having friends that died at an early age when we're like 18. I had a couple of friends die, and that kind of changed my way of looking at everything. Where it was kind of like, me and Ali talked about this the other week. We were getting a little bit soppy and emotional, and we were talking about it. It was just like, I don't think people take seriously enough the fact that you're not even guaranteed your next breath.
Yeah, exactly.
if you just, wake up and you're able to do things, like, that's amazing. You're able to get up and just move. That's fucking cool. That's just cool. And I don't think people. I think people overlook. So maybe you know this more because you live in, where you're living just now, and you don't have all the things that we would consider normal here. So just the ability to, have a good, stable internet connection. That's so lucky. Like, it's so lucky that we've got that. You can just go, what happened last night? What was the football scores last night? Cool. Like, that's amazing. That's magic. But we just take it for granted. Do you know what I mean?
Can I there's something I want to say, two things which I think are really important. So first of all, I feel like human beings in general overlook the fact that being alive and having a body is a privilege. It's like it's a gift that's been given to us, and we act as if, oh fuck, and yes, so yes to that. And also, as speaking as someone who has suffered a lot with depression, first of all, I went through stages with it. First of all was, I feel like shit and I don't know what's happening. Then it's, oh my gosh, it's depression. And I really yes, this is an illness and I need to fight it. And that was an important part of the process for me. And now I've come through that, and I see depression as like a normal part of being a human. And it's a way of getting us to turn back inwards towards ourselves and have deep breath. Otherwise, we're always out there, we're always doing. So I now see depression as not this like illness, but like an opportunity to come back and a part of being human, even though it's fucking shit.
I just don't. It doesn't fit into my head. I just can't. I can't even imagine it because it doesn't. It's like fucking. I don't know. I'm trying to think. This is how stupid I am. I forgot what I was going to say. What's it?
I think you're right though, because it's difficult to appreciate it if you've never gone through it yourself. Because my wife still suffers from it, really severe depression, and has done for decades now. And some of my friends do as well. And I'm similar to Chris. I'm lucky that I never have. And you're right. It is hard if you've never been in that situation to appreciate. It's not just I've decided to wake up one day and be depressed. It is, as you were saying, Caroline, a kind of almost a slow descent into it, and an acceptance that that's what is causing that issue rather than anything else. That sometimes can take people a bit of a time to, I suppose, acknowledge and come to terms with before they can then start, as you say, turn back inwards and start working on improving it.
Yeah, exactly. And depression isn't just like feeling a bit shit and sad. It's like a kind of everything just I can't even put it into words. It's not really an emotion. It's like a whole deadening. It's like everything just goes grey.
Is it like a mental fog? Like, is it a mental fog that you feel like could have descended over you or something? Like, is that what it feels like? Or
it's like to make it sound kind of, to put it in more kind of clinical, like multi-symptomatic. Like there's so many things. It's like just everything just feels dead and numb. And I think everyone experiences it differently, but it's not just because when I've gone through those phases, I'm like, give me fucking sadness and grief. Just give me something, not this deadness, not this numbness. No?
That sounds very similar to what my wife has. She says that it's just a complete numbness where people talk about highs and lows. There's just nothing. It's just static silence, nothing. As you said, nothing at all. Not even feeling sad or angry or upset. There's just almost no emotion, which by itself is worse, because at least if you've got strong emotions one way or another, you've got something to work with.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. But also, the more I went through these episodes or spells, the more I did them, and then the more conscious I became with them. And now when I go through it, it's like, okay, I know this isn't going to be forever. you know, I know that phrase gets thrown a lot around a lot, this too shall pass, but it's true. Everything passes. But the sneaky thing about depression is that, like, your concept of time gets fucked with. So when you're in the depression, it feels like you've always been there and you always will be there. And then when you come out of it, you're like, oh shit, okay, no, that those thoughts were not true.
Is it like your head comes back above water?
Yeah, kind of. And sometimes you don't realize how deep you've been in it until you've come out and you're like, oh my gosh, I was really in a depressive spell right then. And it's like that sweet relief of coming back is like, yeah.
Yeah, it's just yeah, it's something that I you know, probably because we get to make fun of each other all the time and joke around. Me and Ali, we don't I don't know. I've got if you're ever struggling, you've always got some silly friends around about you to joke round about with. But yeah, I've never. It seems to be something that people are speaking about more and more now, and it's one of those things where I wish I understood like a little bit more, because it just doesn't seem. I don't want to say it doesn't seem like a real thing, but just I can't it's like me trying to understand the universe. Like, I don't fucking understand.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Do you know what somebody's talking about? It's somebody's talking about like quantum mechanics. I'm like, what? What the fuck did you just say? Yeah, just, you know what I mean? I just can't. So yeah, it's interesting to hear somebody talking about it. I just don't. I cannot put myself into that place.
Well, that's pretty awesome that you don't experience those things, even, and I'm not saying that in a way like, oh, I wish I didn't feel this way, because now I'm really at the point, and you know, being in Peru has taken me to the most brutal places, like within myself, and also like most challenging external environments and situations. And now I'm at the point where I now don't label things good and bad. They just are, and some of them are more challenging and harder, but each one is just an opportunity to like grow more, experience more. And yeah, that, you know, maybe to someone who is still struggling, that will sound like quite flippant or oh, that's easy to, but when you've been like burnt enough, you will like it will change the way you perceive these challenges.
You know the wonderful thing about life is there's no right and, well, I suppose there's a wrong way to do it, but there's no set path. So just because you're having a bad week or a bad day or a bad month, it's only a bad day or a bad week or a bad month, and there will be a bright, the sun will rise the next day and things will change. So I think it's I think people get too caught up on like the social norms of saying this is how we should do it, by 34, by 36 you should be doing, you should have this and this. But you go, why should I? Like, who said that's a thing? Do you know what I mean? I think we get, everybody's on their own little path and everybody's doing their own little thing, and I know it's a cliche thing, but everybody's having their own battles and having their own problems. And there's no set path. So it's just, go what's happening, take joy in the things that you like, and just fucking, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but just fucking don't worry about the things that maybe aren't happening. It's just fucking enjoy what you're doing. Like, I think I'm sure I've said this before, was, life is really fucking complicated. It's also really fucking easy. Yeah. It's really easy. It's sort of really complicated, but it's also really easy. I don't know, that's, sounds silly, but it is. It really isn't all that difficult.
No. I hear everything you're saying, and this is why life is so paradoxical, is that it's complicated and it's simple. Things are shit and they're great, and if we can hold two polarities at once, that makes our ride through a bit easier, rather than saying things have to be either this or that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like we're saying, I can't remember who we're talking this, about just recently. So, like where I grew up, everybody was into kind of dance music, and where I went to school, everybody was into fucking Corn and Limp Bizkit and all that new metal
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
So, and I liked hip hop, so it was Dean Hepburn. That's who I was speaking to. So
Yeah,
I didn't, I didn't fit in anywhere. So I went to school where I originally grew up, and then I lived where I still live now. So I didn't really fit in anywhere. It was one of these things where people were like, "Oh yeah, you've got to like this, you've got to like this," and I kind of remember just going, "Well, why can't I just like all of it? Like, why do you have to have this little group that likes this and this little group that likes that?" But it's it was I think it was some Henry Rollins stuff. But it was just like, no, you don't have to fit into anything. You can just do what you want to do. But you never realised that until I was well into my 20s. You go, no, fuck. I don't have to do this or this or this. I don't have to be painted into this corner. You could just say, no, I fucking like all of this shit, and I want to do all of this shit. Like something. So, you were talking about spirituality and all that kind of shit. Then you go, okay, but I boxed for a long time. I like fighting, and the two things don't go together. If you said something about being a little bit kind of spiritual and all that kind of thing, but they also like fighting, and like those things don't fit together. You wouldn't think they would go together, but they can.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, this is so on point because definitely spirituality. Some people can view spirituality as this whole like, oh, we need to like elevate ourselves above our humanness and like dissolve into love and light. But I see it as also embracing this dirty, messy experience of being human and imperfect. And this whole what you just said about like fighting and spirituality don't typically go together. It's the same with like spirituality and money. So someone over on my Russian sex bot Body Love Babe page someone kind of, I was talking about it was over a DM, and I was saying, how like I'm also focusing a lot on manifesting money because I'm tired of like always living hand to mouth. I would like to have more money in my life. And this person said I just think that's totally like contradicts everything you write about because you're like connected to nature and spiritual and the money doesn't fit in. And I'm like, bullshit. I think you can desire money, still be spiritual and a good person and connected to the universe, So I agree on that.
Yeah, I think we still put too much emphasis on painting yourself into this corner, and it's fucking nonsense. You could like multiple things. Like why can't you? And that's something that I say quite regularly, just during the day when when somebody says, you have to do it this way or you have to do it that way. And you go, yeah, but who says? I'm just like 36-year-old now and still saying these things. Why do you have to do it that way? Like, where does it say that? Like, show me. Where's this? Like, is it written in a book? Why do we have to? I've always kind of thought that way. But yeah. I don't know fucking where I was going with that again. I'm getting to the point. Now where I'm running out of intelligent things. I don't really ever have intelligent things to say, but I'm now running out of intelligent things to say. But what was funny with Caroline is we were saying earlier on that me and Ali were both saying we've had shitty days. We've had shitty days at work, and we were both saying, I bet this ends up being like 2 hours long. And oh yeah, it's now fucking 2 hours long.
Did you have a shit day then?
Oh yeah, both. Yeah, we both had. No, again, what's a shit day at work? It doesn't.
Again, not that bad.
Start again, Again, it's fucking done now. It doesn't matter. I'm home and I'll wake up tomorrow and it's a different day. So, how bad is it? It's not really that bad. You just get stressed in the moment, and it's fine. There's no real bad thing. Nobody died. Nobody died.
Exactly.
Didn't go bankrupt. We've still got a house to live in and a comfy bed. And it's not that bad, is it? But yeah.
We vented each other before we came on the podcast, and we forgot about it, and we're ready for tomorrow now.
We've got a podcast tomorrow as well. So a completely different. That's the thing I love about this is how varied our guests have been. So yeah, tomorrow's going to be a lot different, but it makes you think. You know what? It makes you think a lot more, because you speak to so many different people with so many different perspectives, and yeah, it makes us think. Makes us think a lot more. It's super interesting.
Especially when someone can articulate what they're thinking as well as you have, Caroline, which makes a massive difference. You can tell that you coach for a living, because I train for a living for a building society, and I can always tell people that are good at public speaking. They just have a different way, and you're very good at articulating what you have to say and the way you think, and you can tell that you coach people in that field. It comes across well.
Oh, thanks. On that note, can I do a little tell you about, and also anyone listening / watching, about something that's starting on, it's exactly a week away on, I don't know, when's this podcast gonna be viewable to people?
This will go out on this Friday, so it'll be out, I can't think what Friday's day will be, 23rd of April.
23rd, yeah.
Oh, that's perfect. Okay, so on Monday the 26th of April, so basically I've created something called the 7-day body love activation, and it's a 7-day process, and it's designed to reconnect you to your body and to permanently change the relationship you have with your body. So it's 7 days. Every day I send you an email, and I've got a little practice / meditation / something in it. And yeah, so everyone who's signed up to the process is going to be doing it concurrently. And yeah, it's free, and I'm inviting both of you and anyone listening / watching to sign up for it.
Cool. Where can we send our listeners to sign up for it, Caroline?
Okay, so go to my Instagram, not the Jungle Cacao. It's at the Body Love Babe. Just go there, and there's a link in my bio that says 7-day body love activation, and just sign up there.
Beautiful. We will get that tagged in the notes.
That is a positive note to end the podcast. We went through a little dip there where it was a little bit doom and gloom, and now we've come up the other side and we're ending on a positive note.
7-day body love activation.
Yeah, so this has been fucking interesting. It's always like I say, it's always staggering to do these things and to listen to different people's views on life and stuff. And I think we said when we first started, we want to speak to people who have lived an interesting life, and you go, okay, well, that's definitely you. It's definitely interesting. Yeah, so yeah, it's been fun. And you know what happens normally is there's been a few people on before where generally it gets to an hour and you go, you make an excuse. I've got stuff to do, and I have to go and do this or whatever it is, and you just to kind of get out of doing it, because sometimes people are difficult to speak to, whereas you've been genuinely super easy to speak to, and that makes it.
You haven't. I was going to say you have not been Fat Ali, Caroline, which is always a good thing.
Who is Fat Ali?
Oh my god! Oh my god!
We'll tell you off camera. Oh
my god!
Okay.
That was the worst hour of my life. Right, okay, let's wrap this up.
On that note, then, episode 63 of the Silly Goose Gang podcast with Caroline Knight from the Body Love Babe and Jungle Cacao, Peru. Let's call it done and dusted.
Oh, thanks, guys. You were a joy to speak to. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
The Silly Goose Gang podcast.